What's going on, Facebook fam? It's your girl, Neo Soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, back again for another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. How y'all doing? I'm so tired. I'm
She's
tired. I'm
tired.
tired. I'm tired. I'm so tired, but it's all right. It's all good. It's that start of still working from home, trying to do a show, trying to run a business, and starting up homeschool again. That's the kind of voice I have this morning. But it's all good. How y'all doing? Let me see those thumbs ups, those hearts, those happy faces. Let me know you guys are awake and happy to be alive and breathing. Um, Hopefully I can get this conversation going where it'll put a little pep in your step and a little spark in you so that you can make it through your day like I want to try to make it through mine. Let me go ahead and bring my mom on so we can get this topic started. Hey, what's going on? Wait a minute, let me switch you around so we can see what that is. What does that say? What's that? Yes! I'm so awesome and I'm so sleepy. Are you? I'm about to drink my little health drink. They take too long. What's happening? I tried out this outfit for y'all, but I'm feeling a little exposed. Feeling a little exposed. Um, we got you muted. I'm sorry. My bad. Say all that again. I couldn't hear you.
Should I start with the awesome? You are
I said they
awesome.
couldn't hear you. They saw you.
They couldn't hear me. Oh my
No, my
goodness.
bad. It
It's
was
a
me.
beautiful day in my neighborhood. I'm feeling just wonderful this morning. God is good. Woke up feeling energetic. And
Bad energy.
look at you. Don't you look spiffy?
I, do,
Got the
I, do I look
shoulders
appropriate?
out.
I promise you, this is a real outfit. I feel like I should stand up so y'all should know that
Here,
this is a
stand
real
up and go
outfit and
for
not
it.
like my nightie. I feel
Oh,
I feel so
TMI.
inappropriate right now, but this is an outfit, guys.
TMI.
It
Oh my
looks,
goodness.
it comes across a
Really.
little different when when you just see the topic. But
Okay, maybe I
I'm
should
pretty
read my
cool.
confidence card this morning. Let me start out reading. My life is about to be incredibly blissful. The great thing is that I am in control of that through Christ Jesus.
Hey,
And heart. Amen. 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 So we're looking forward to a beautiful day, wonderful day, great topic, and I'm ready.
all right, here we go, man. Let's dig into it. So I know all y'all came to find out what in the world, what is Law talking about? Good. The topic: stop telling your daughters they are love taps. So remember back in the day, and I said it. Remember back in the day when, you know, as a female, and guys, this is the fellas, this is for you too. I just threw daughters in there because I knew everybody would come running. Um, when you would be in school, you were in elementary school, and you on a playground, and y'all playing outside, and you know, for the ladies, like the dude to walk up to you and hit you and run, and then for the fellas, the girl will like smack you in your face when y'all talking or something, and run off or whatever, or just be like you stupid and just hit you, and then in conversation with your parents, some of them would say, "Oh, those are love taps. They like you." Remember those? How many of y'all remember that, first of all, before I go into this? Because I remember it, and it was very prevalent in my era. I'm a little over 40, and I know there's some people out here that are older than me, and I know y'all remember it. Where or they have like
You mean playing tag?
Oh, it wasn't. Well, it wasn't tag. Nah, it wasn't tag. It wasn't tag.
Oh, okay,
Tag. Everybody
that
was getting
was
hit.
after my time.
Tag. Everybody was getting hit. This was specifically like strategic. Like they was seeking you out. They waited till you came outside until they released your line to go play. Um, or maybe it was just only me that got hit. Like, it's like I only got hit one time,
And
and I thank God that I didn't get expelled from school because
yeah, because they
I
would
tried
cross
to
the
tell the
stream.
teacher. I tried. We were actually not on recess. In we were in class, and every time the teacher would turn the light out to use the little projector screen. Like now they have smart boards, but it was like this little big bulky thing, and they put the little clear paper with writing on it, and it would project on the screen. So every
Mm-hmm.
time they would turn the light out, I would say the guy name, but he probably might be somewhere in the area.
Well, we're talking specifics now.
Yeah, like yeah. Every time the light turned
Oh,
off, he would like hit me on my leg or hit me on my thigh, or whatever. And I kept trying to,
and how
let the
come I didn't
teacher
know about this?
because I handled it. I handled it, and I did,
Oh.
and I didn't get expelled. He kept tapping me on the leg or whatever. This is before I stepped into
Mm-hmm.
my my godly walk. You know what I'm saying? I
Mm-hmm.
really feel like, I was there, but I was protecting myself. But anyway, he kept
Mm-hmm.
tapping my thigh every time the light went off. And I would try to tell the teacher, and she did
Super.
not respond appropriately. So the next day I came prepared, and I had my little fingernail file. Remember them little fingernail files? I mean, the clippers where it had the file that pulled out? I was prepared. So the next day, when he tried it, I had my little clippers out with the little fingernail file. And that joint went tap, and I went stab and stabbed him in the hand, and he went squealing out loud. And she flicks on the light. What is going on? And I said, I told you he kept touching me. And she called us up, and we went to the principal's office and everything. They didn't call my mom because she probably knew that she was going to get in trouble because I tried to warn her. Um, but that was the end of my love taps. So nobody love tapped me anymore because they heard.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
then my violence went
Mm-hmm.
away. I just had to protect myself. But remember those times, when they would run up and hit you, and then run off, or they would just hit you and stay. And the excuse was, oh, those are love taps. They probably hitting you because they like you. And so now I'm looking at us as adults, and I'm looking at the mentality of some of my queens and some of my sisters. And those ain't love taps. Those ain't love taps. And I feel like we've developed a mentality that that's what that is. And it's okay. Somebody, that was the start of, that's love. And so we're not understanding why some of us are condoning that. Some of us, the first time the person pushes you, and he's like, no, no, I love you. I was just, sometimes you get on my nerves. And that push, you know, progresses to, or that tap progresses to a push, and that push progresses to a shove, and that shove progresses to a pop on the back of the head, and that pop on the back of the head progresses to that punch in the face.
Wait a minute.
Like, I'm not saying that happened to me. I'm just saying, I wonder if from the mindset of those are just love taps, if that's where we began to condition ourselves that those were okay, like hits were okay. If somebody hit you and they said they love you, that those were okay. Help me understand, because I'm trying to break down and be able to help my sisters and my brothers, because it's not just women. There are males that are getting abused as well. I'm trying to understand where we got to the point where um, we we understood that as being the norm and that being okay to happen. Um, and now we're in this situation that we can't get out because we're afraid. because now we've gotten in so deep, and those taps have become punches, and we're afraid. We're afraid to leave. We're afraid to walk away from a situation like that. Um, Help me, help us, because there are some people out here, and there are some that may be watching that, in their mind, literally, that's okay. Because I have acquaintances that I'll hear, a story of what's going on in their world, and that comes up like it's nothing, and I'm sitting there like, wait a minute, what happened? Um, because it's not okay. It's not okay, and I just wanted to talk about it because this is my show, and I do what I want, and so I just want to talk about it because I know some of y'all want to talk about it too, and and we need to uncover it so we can begin to help our brothers and our sisters wake up, and then and understand first, because there's one thing, for those who that's not what they signed up for, and they're like, yo, what in the crap just happened? Like, that was they took a blow for real, and they want out, and they don't know how to get out. But then there are those who make excuses for that happening, and I'm trying to understand the mentality and where that came from. Like, what is the origin? Did it come from the love taps? Did we condition ourselves to think that when somebody aggressively puts their hand on us, that really does, if they say, I'm doing it because I love you, or I'm doing it because I like you, um, did that really sink in as truth? I'm seeing some people on my live talking. Y'all in the watch party, y'all real quiet. Um, Let me see.
What,
Set.
while they're getting their thoughts together, what I'm hearing, and I know where we're going with this topic today as we're moving into a bigger issue and topic. um, Transparency is key here with us hosts, and having been an abused woman in my earlier day. um, Taps of any kind to me are signals, are messages
Mm-hmm.
of a bigger issue. And so when something of this nature is repeated, even at an early age, at a young age, um, it this whole thing that you described thus far reminds me of current day situations where abused women are told after after suffering a black eye or bruises and so forth and so on, and the list goes on. It reminds me of uh, them having conversations with, say, a girlfriend, a close girlfriend, and in most cases it would have to be a close girlfriend because usually abused women, keep this to themselves. And but it reminds me of the conversation going like this: oh, well, he loves me, he says he loves me, and that's why he didn't mean to do it, or she didn't mean to do it, and that's where, and that's what I'm hearing as you're describing what could have been an innocent situation. I won't even label it a love tap, even though back in the day, I can imagine that's what it was called, run around the playground, or when the lights go out for a movie at school and so forth and so on. But I'm, it to me, it signals um, a mixed message, a message where women, why so many women stay in abusive situations, because they've been uh, their brain has been trained to believe that the person loves them, why they beat them, why they hit them, which is so off key. It is so off, you know. Um, One would say it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure if someone is hurting you, a bruise, a black eye, in many cases, broken arm, uh, concussions, what have you, there is nothing about love and love tapping in those situations.
Right.
And speaking personally, you know, it there's nothing that comes close to a love tap, you know. So we're going with this into a broader topic, a broader avenue where that love tap, what was started out being a love tap, it's like a training. It's training for a bigger issue, you know,
Abuse.
um, abuse.
Abuse. And
It's
the
simple
reason
as
why
that.
the reason why it's so concerning, and I equated it to love taps, is because in today's society, like obviously before the pandemic, domestic violence moved to high school. Domestic violence moved to high school. You know what I'm saying? There are high schoolers who are in do you know what domestic is? Domestic situations where they're being
Absolutely.
abused. There are
Absolutely.
boys and girls, and I'm gonna call them boys and girls because
Hmm.
they're not
Hmm.
men and women. They're boys and girls
Hmm.
who are in domestic violent situations. How does that happen? How? How is it that a ninth grader is experiencing physical abuse from a little boy that they probably not even going to end up with by the time they graduate from college? How? I've had three that I can name off the top of my head. I think it's like three and a possible two of females that I graduated with that or graduated after me that I found out were killed in domestic violence situations right after high school. And so now I'm talking to my children and I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like how they get be in ninth grade by a little snotty nosed dude? Are you serious? And so now I'm just like, how do, because I got girls, you know what I mean? And so I don't bring y'all nothing that I'm not trying to understand for myself. This isn't topics that I'm throwing, pulling out the side of my neck. Like I am raising young princesses that are growing into queens, you know? And I'm raising young kings. And so I need to understand the origin so I can counteract with my own children so that my daughters recognize certain signs to know, like, yeah, no, we about to end this whole entire interaction, period, you know? Or my sons know, like, no, that's not cute. And no, she shouldn't put her hands on you. I've seen so many memes where they're like, no, I've taught my sons to hit back, and no, my sons know that they do not put their hands on a woman in that way, on a female in that way. However, if you have to restrain her until somebody come running, then you absolutely do that because it is not okay. It is not okay for a female to put her hands on you.
And before our fellows chime in, and I know
I'm,
that
I'm
their
waiting. I'm waiting.
brains, I
I need
haven't
to
even
see
looked at the comments to see how many males we have on here, but it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Yes, it does. Abuse of any kind, any unwarranted touching of any kind, and it's not just touching, it's not just physical touching. Abuse takes many forms. Abuse can be verbal, and usually that's where it starts,
this.
where you open one door and then the windows and everything else come open, in terms of allowing, where we allow people to that entrance into our lives. Abuse, as I said, it takes many forms. It's not just physical. It can be uh, verbal, and sometimes verbal. is even worse or just as bad as physical. Speaking personally, people can, and many people, many persons have been torn down verbally, and it lasts them for the rest of their lives. It really does. Many kids start out being abused, and we know about the, child abuse, but there's also adults who are abused, women who are trained to think that they're no good, never going to be any good, based on someone's words to them. A mate, usually, uh, demeaning them, making them feel that they're lesser than less, and this is a serious issue in our times. I dare say it goes back. We want to trace usually back to slavery, where men were demeaned from the start. They were uh, made to watch as the masters abuse their wife and or girlfriend or women that they liked, and the women, period, were abused, and so the men were made to feel lesser than a man. Um, and of course, not to mention how the women felt coming out of situations like this, where you had to be the masses bed warmer, belly warmer, or what have you. And coming up to present times, where people are allowing, and I don't want to just stay on the female side of it, because as has been said, this goes both
It's on
ways.
both ends.
Men, there are some men who have been demeaned, their character, their masculinity has been shaken as a result of them being uh, verbally put down as less than a man. So this thing is very serious. I personally have no respect, capital N, capital O, for any man, any person who, and certainly a man
Yeah.
who considers themselves masculine, to abuse a woman. There is no excuse whatsoever. A, a choice, a choice you have, a choice you have to go right or to go left. And in any situation where there are disagreements and arguments, each person has a choice to go right or left, versus chiming in physically or even verbally. I've been in a situation with my earthly king, my the colonel, where the colonel, before, I don't know if many of you are familiar with 410 in uh, Maryland. There before they even paved that
Riverdale,
highway.
by
My my
Riverdale
my
and Lanham.
my colonel used to take walks down, where the mounds of dirt and rock and everything. They hadn't even paved the road yet. When we got into a disagreement, he walked. He walked, and he came back when he had gotten his thoughts together and so forth, keeping it real, being very transparent, and I had nothing but respect for a man who is able to walk away, but to put yourself in a position to manhandle, I wouldn't even say manhandle, I'll say, I would use another word, but I'll be considerate, to manhandle a woman,
Yeah.
a woman, when there are so many other options, you know, and women who, you know, put themselves in a position to, in that position in the first place. La mentioned several situations where, as a child, as children on a playground, where this what they call love taps, running and tapping the girl, and I trained my daughter. In fact, I really never worried about her defending herself. In fact, I worried about the other guy, the other person, more so,
I'm not that
because,
way no more. Yeah.
and having been brought up in a situation where she was aware of abuse,
Yeah.
I had no doubt, as with even in her situation now. Let me tell you something. La has how many daughters? She has four daughters. The two youngest, I have no worries that they will be able to take care of themselves. Not to say that the older ones wouldn't, but for some reason, those babies, my two youngest granddaughters, hmm, like I say, I have more concerns about the other person. There used to be this thing when a kid came home with black eye or whatever, and sometimes the dad would say, "Well, what did the other guy look like?" You know, those are my thoughts. If ever my two youngest granddaughters were ever, to come home, looking, like they had a scratch or whatever, I'm like, oh my God, should I check at the morgue or what? But in all seriousness, even more seriousness, there is no earthly reason for training. And when I say training a person, that it's okay. I mean, starting out with something little, like a little tap, what you call an innocent tap. No, don't even start. Don't even start. No reason whatsoever. And I know that sounds, like, mm, but you start how you can hold out. If it's okay for any Jack or Jill to put their hands on you, that's if you start out that way, then chances are it will matriculate into something even more serious. You know, you take an inch, you give an inch, they'll take a mile, and that's anybody, male or female. So this abusive situation is very serious, even more so today, even more so. Um, I'll stop right there. Put a tack in that. Put a tack in that. Pin that right now.
It's and I'm trying because I could. So I'm waiting on my mama to come out with her book because in order for my book to make sense, you would have to hear her story first. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely,
but
absolutely. Yeah,
so you hear me talk a lot about my dad, and I'm only going to give you reference so that you understand where I'm coming from. But we won't go in too deep. But you hear me talk about my dad and my dad being a pastor and everything. Well, I met my dad came back into my life when I was 7, and so prior to that, um, I had experienced abuse as a from a child's lens. I watched my mom be abused physically, and I mean, one I can't even like on air. We'd have to extend this thing like 2-3 hours, but I experienced that as a child, and I experienced physical abuse from that person on me as a child, and so I grew up a little rough. Meaning I'm not my reflexes are not your average reflex. And then to go into the department where you know you're like becoming a police officer and you have to be trained a certain way. I always tell people, my reflexes aren't like the average person. Don't walk up on me, because my mindset is a little different. And there were certain instances in my young adulthood where I had to walk away from situations because it just didn't look right from the start. And the person was like, what? Like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll holler at you. Deuces, we out. One was the first time a boy called me stupid. Like I remember they came all the way from Fayetteville, North Carolina to go to the movies. And I remember purchasing the tickets, and then when they got here, they gave me the money for the tickets, so we could already had the tickets. They were from the DC area, like I was, but they had been, in the military in Fayetteville. So I'm trying to tell them the easiest way me leaving my dorm the easiest way to get to the movies. And they're like, no, because I know this is my mom. And I'm like, well, actually, this is a shortcut. And they're like, and you stupid. That's not. And I was like, yo, what did you call me? And I literally made him take me back to my dorm. I was nice enough to say, yo, let me know that you got back home safely. He was driving back to Fayetteville that night or somewhere because he wasn't, the date was over. It was over. Um, because there were certain things that, about trigger words and just, gyrations and motions that I was just like, yeah, no, I don't even have the capacity to even try to work with you and say, you don't know when we're gonna try this again, but you don't talk to me like that. It was like, yeah, no, I'm out. There was an instance in my last year of high school where, my little boyfriend, I like, if my dad probably rolling around in his grave now because I had a boyfriend. But my little boyfriend at high school, I remember he had come to the door, to see if I can come outside. And we were talking about something, and my mom, knew him, so she, everybody loved Mama Lou. So he talking to her or whatever. She went in the kitchen, and I just had an attitude because I was just like, your demeanor. I just don't like your demeanor, right? And every time my mother turned her head, you cutting your eyes at me like, why you ain't call me back, And so, at that point, I was just like, yo, this right here is too much for me because it just doesn't feel like it's going right. And I remember him saying something to me, and I didn't say anything. And my mother had went in the kitchen, and I'm sitting at the dining room table, and he plucked me in the back of my ear. All my mother heard was boom, boom, like the door. He went out the door, I went out the door, and I proceeded to try to destroy him physically because, it just brought back memories of what I didn't want for myself. Like, I watched my mother get drugged up and down a sidewalk. I watched my mother get punched in her face. Um, and for a long time, I had animosity with my dad because I was like, if you were here, like if y'all had been together, this would have never happened. And but I watched those things, and so it was like from the onset, I will destroy a dude before I ever allow myself to be in that position. And so as I got older, my mentality shifted a little bit, um, because of the aggression that I grew up in. I kind of was made a little different, but I have the opportunity to do things differently with my girls and my boys, and so I instill what is necessary so that my boys don't even get to that point. Um, my girls understand, like, yo, this isn't a friend, and so we're not even going to engage in a friendship. And certainly being able to take it a step further and protect yourselves, because some people don't take no for an answer. You know,
No means
they'll
no.
and it's not even just to the point where you're talking about like any type of sexual activity. It's, hey sweetheart, and I had to teach my children, like my husband, he's the one that I always speak. And I said, yo, people crazy. Yeah, I remember, in Richmond, Virginia, where my grandmother stayed. One of, my good girlfriends, a friend of hers, was shot in the face with a Uzi coming out of 7-Eleven because the dude catcalled her. She didn't want nothing to do with him, so he followed her after she left out of the 7-Eleven in a car with his boy, and turned around, pretty, gorgeous female, young, in high school. I don't even think, was she in high school? She was in high school, really young though. Um, and he turned around, called her out her name. Well, called her out her name. She turned around and he shot her in the face with the Uzi, dead, just because she didn't want to give him her number, which it ain't her number. It's probably her parents' number because she in high school and she lived with her parents. And so, from all of my experiences, I put them together, and I figure out this parenting thing and how to parent my daughters. And so I tell my girls, you always speak. You always speak. First of all, speaking, can give you a little insight on the mindset of the person. Don't ever let nobody walk silent near you. You turn around and you say, hey, how you doing? Because if they don't speak, then you can begin to analyze your situation, whether they just having a bad day or you need to remove yourself from that space. But you always speak. Like every time I'm out, and I'm a married female with 6 kids, which if they knew my story, they'd be like, "Yo, I'm good," And some people just don't care, but if they knew, they'd be good. But even when I'm out and I'm going to the gas station alone, and I don't have my husband with me, or I'm going into the grocery store, and a guy speaks, I speak back. Hey, how you doing, King? And I'm still moving. Can I get that number off you? You probably don't want to do that, because if you want to take me out, you got to take my husband out too. And I'm smiling the whole time, because at the end of the day, I want to walk into the store breathing, and I want to walk out of the store breathing. And I don't want to exercise any of my defensive tactics that I've learned, because I want this to be a win-win for both of us, right? And so it doesn't take anything from me to smile and make you feel good about yourself that I even spoke to you, but still say, I've seen females, I've been amongst females and be like, I got a man, and everything is an attitude, and I'm like, no, some people are off up here, some people don't have the same, they didn't grow up with the same parenting
And I
that
think one thing
others
too
had.
uh, that I always go by, which I incorporated in my biological children and children I've mentored and my students, think before you speak. Before your mouth opens to address any situation, think. Just give it a moment or two to think about what you need to say. And as Lau saying, because your words, you can't take words back. I'm sorry does not heal wounds.
Mm-mm.
I'm sorry does not bring you back from the dead,
Right.
except in Christ. So, you know, you really have to think before you speak anything. Be so confident in yourself that you know who you are. You should know who you are. And people's words uh, can oftentimes they can run a dagger through your heart. However, you should be so confident in who you are and whose you are that even if you don't know whose you are, you should know who you are. Be comfortable with yourself. That's where those mirror talks come in, where you have time to get acquainted with you
Mm-hmm.
as a person and know that if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything, as simple as that. So and as she is saying, I've seen many situations go left when they could have gone right or straight ahead because of something, a response that a person gave in regards to a negative, you know um whether it's in any relationship or not a relationship. um, there is no excuse for abuse of any kind. No excuse for abuse of any kind. And because of this image that we have of a real man, certainly a real man who should know who they are, should not allow someone's words to take them to that dark place where you have to abuse. And that's what it is. It's abuse. You can call it whatever you want. You can dress it up just like a Christmas tree. You can dress it up, but it's still a tree. So, situations, and one situation leads to another and to another to another. It progresses, it can only go downhill. So when you know that you're in a situation where it's it's going left, then that's your signal. No one has to blow a whistle like a referee in a game. When it's not going, and something I used to tell kids, well, first of all, it takes two people to argue, discuss, or whatever, usually, except for that conversation in the mirror where you're talking with yourself. So common sense, which, okay, I'm not taking for granted that everybody uses their common sense, but in a situation where it's going left, and when it's going left, it doesn't take, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure that one out. Cut it off. It's going nowhere. It's not progressing into a positive. It's only going downhill. Cut it off. Somebody be the intelligent one and cut it off. It's a no-win situation when both parties are heated. We said in previous broadcasts, even with children, never to discipline children when you already up here, when you're already excited and into, an altercation. Don't. That's a no-no. So even in any relationship or a situation, even in a situation where you walk down the street and someone says something you don't like, if you don't like it, that's already a signal, flag on the play. You don't have to come back, like, I'm going to top this, I'm going to top that. Back in the day, we call it tit for tat. It's a no win situation. It's a no win situation. So, start how you can hold out,
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna get to some of these comments. I heard saw someone on my watch party say this topic is painful to watch. Having grown up watching my parents fight and reliving it through my first marriage, the feelings never go away. Wow. Like, and that's so true. And like I said to you, Queen, like, for those that God allowed to come through the situation, because some people, there's a lot of people who aren't here to tell their story, but there are so many people who are, and you didn't go through it for naught. It wasn't for nothing. I believe that at the appointed time, in the right circumstance and situation, you were allowed to come through it. God enabled you to come through it
mm,
to help someone else.
survivor.
To help someone
Yeah,
else. Um,
a survivor.
to
Yes,
not have to deal with that. So often as parents, we raise and train our children so that they don't have to go through some of the hurts and the things that we've gone through, not so that they have to do everything that we did, like that they have to relive everything that we had to go through, all the struggles that we had to go through. A lot of times we we raise our children a certain way so that they don't have to. That's why there are parents who are like, no, at 6 o'clock or when the street lights come on, you come in the house, because they know what has happened, you know,
absolutely.
after
A
6 o'clock and when the street.
method to the madness.
And so we have been allowed to come through certain situations and circumstances so that we can be testaments for others, so that they don't have to go through. I say this all the time. We can't possibly live this life long enough to experience all that there is to experience. A lot of our experience comes from other people's experience, hearing other people's stories, hearing what other people
Exactly.
had to deal with, so we can
Absolutely.
make sound decision. I tell my children all the time, pay attention to detail. Like, if
Mm.
I tell
That's
you something, I need you, when you're on your walk and on your journey, to have my story in your mind.
exactly. And that's a interesting fact, because with children, having dealt with many, 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 many children, young people in my day, in my life, during my career, in my family situations, not just my biological family, but families, extended family, what have you. It has always bothered me when, particularly with children, when you're telling them something, and it's like almost as if you can't tell them anything. They know everything, and you're not even half my age. You're, a minute portion of my age, and you already have read all the books, got on t-shirts, and been everywhere, done everything, you know. And it really used to bother me until I realized, where that, I guess it's just a thing, but you don't stop. The other thing is, in situations, family situations, there used to be a commercial, rather, that that would say, you know what, it was involving alcoholism. You know what it's doing to you, but do you know what it's doing to the people around you?
Yeah.
And that's what I say, in situations where adults are arguing, fussing, fighting, what have you, um, you have an idea what you're feeling in this situation, but do you have a clue as to if children are present, what it's doing to them?
Right.
Hurt people hurt other people. So, even at an early age, these things are stamped in kids' minds. That's the most painful thing for me, even in my abuse, the times when I was abused, to know that your children witnessed or saw situations such as, it's bad enough, to see stuff on TV. And that's brings up another point why I've always had uh, a terrible time with present times where kids are privy to the internet and TV and so many other outside sources. And it- it- every parent thinks their kids, particularly mothers, want to think the best of your children. But I used to tell my parents, don't take my word for it. Just pay a little pop in visit. I promise you, you'll see a different child from the one that you think you sent here. You know, so the stuff that goes into kids are like sponges. So things that they witness, whether they see it in their home or see it on TV or see it on the internet, and I'm gonna tell you, the internet, yes, during these times and other times, the internet is an asset to us. However, it can also be um, a downside because kids are taking in more stuff. And I've seen and witnessed my children, my school children. I've said to them, if your parent only knew what you were watching on the phones, when the school systems allowed students to have phones, and I understand after 9/11, it became almost a necessity for parents to be in touch with their children via the cell phones. However, it became also a downside. It became a negative in the sense that in every school, just about where there was not control, kids were using those cell phones uh, not as a good thing. It took from their attention span when it came to the teachers teaching and going forth with the lessons. And so it really became a big distractor. Right now, kids have more information than they are mature enough to handle, based on the fact that they are on the internet and social media and all of the stuff that they're putting out. Have you ever watched TV lately? Anything goes, everything goes. Sex, drugs, any and everything is out there for your kids. And no, kids are not mature enough at certain point. It's just like anything else. Christ gave us stuff. He gives us stuff as we're mature enough to handle it. And right now, the social media, the television, or any kind of media, in everything goes. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. There isn't too much that children don't know at this point in time at an early age because of the fact that they're on the internet. And that's why, in some of my parent groups that I've met with, it came up with the thing, set some parameters for your child. You know, yes, we want to trust them, but built into that trust has to be some parameters that we set. And because, like I said, hurt people grow up to hurt other people. Abusive boys, little boys, grow up to be abusive big men. And The situations that I found myself in were situations as such. When I talk with relatives after the fact of these people who were abusive, only to find out that they, at some point in their early childhood, had suffered abuse, you know, and it was not handled, it was not taken care of. That brings us to something, a topic that we've been skirting around these days, and that's mental health. We last week we did an excellent series on that, on health issues, wellness, and yeah, we have to get on it. We owe it to ourselves. If you have children, you owe it to your children. They didn't deserve, they didn't ask to be here. Okay. So we owe it to ourselves as parents, guardians, what have you, to put a check on those things, those would be abusive situations. You know, for a child to witness a situation, it goes, and Law has alluded to that. It goes a long way with you. You know, no child deserves that. No child. No child.
And this, like, I know you guys are like, dang, yo, we come off of, well, last week was deep too. Last week was deep too. Y'all, we had some tears, but I really, it's important. I say this at the end of every segment. It's important for us to get it, and there are certain things that we just don't want to talk about, I won't even say we shy away from it.
Sweep it under the rug.
Nobody just wants to touch the topic.
Mm,
And how many of you
mm.
guys know me for real and know I am so not, I'm a rebel.
Y'all done started me to
Um,
drinking.
Lord Jesus, what is that?
This is my green apple health drink.
Okay, I want to say, yeah, we really went off the deep end. But there are
Mm,
topics that just are
good.
necessary to discuss. Like, because we are killing ourselves, and this is beyond like the violence in the street, we are killing ourselves because of ignorance.
My
And,
people
and
perish for lack of
just like the
knowledge.
word says, my people perish because of lack of knowledge, and that's what ignorance
Absolutely.
is. That's the
Absolutely.
definition of ignorance. And
Mm-hmm.
so there are some topics that are necessary to be discussed that
Mm.
nobody want to touch. We gonna talk about it here because I just need for, like I tell you guys all the time, like I got 6 babies that will no longer be babies, that will be out in this society with everybody else's children. And so it is just as important for me to know that you all's children got it than to
Mm.
know that my children got it, because these are the people that
We
it's going to
are
be
our
in
brother's
the
keeper
midst of.
and sister's keepers.
Absolutely. And so I know it's like 8:23 right now, but I'm not done with this topic, y'all.
Wow. Where did
We gonna
time
come back.
go?
We're gonna come back.
But
And
let me
this
let
week,
me share something with you. You know what's so interesting? As I was saying, children pick up and they're like sponges. The younger they are, the more spongy they are in terms of. I witnessed my youngest grandbaby last evening.
and I'll be talking about our
My
little
oldest
distress
my
genes.
oldest granddaughter is in this
I was about to
fitness
say,
thing. Okay, she's in this fitness thing now, right? Why did my little not 2 year old granddaughter, she's down on the floor? I'm like, we were like, what's
doing
she doing?
push-ups. Yeah,
And
we
it
all did
dawned on me,
it up in
she's
here.
doing sit ups. She's doing the sit up. Like, who does that? A not even 2 year old. She has a few months before she's 2 years old. And she's already doing sit ups, touching her. And her Uncle T says, he was giving her instructions. He says, now touch your right toe, wiggle your toe, giving her all kinds of instructives. And was she not doing it? Yes, she was.
Astro.
But she had seen her older sister going through her fitness training.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you, I'm tell I'm just saying.
How easy it is to influence, and so
Influence,
you have to
yes.
ensure that the right influence is flowing out there, right? And so it's necessary for
Absolutely.
us to have these conversations
Absolutely
because
so.
you want to instill the right things.
Mm,
You want your,
mm.
oh my gosh, my hair is a mess, Lord Jesus. You want I'm sorry guys. You want to
What was that? What? Ladies and gentlemen, we will have a station
this
identification.
is candid conversation, right? It's candid conversation. But you want to instill the right things in your
Yes, we
children
do.
and make sure that
Yes,
they're
we do.
mimicking the right things because that's
Yes,
what they start out
we do.
doing, mimicking, you know? That's why we put them
Absolutely.
in, you know, some of us put them in front of television and watch educational shows, but you have to be
Mm.
um,
Yeah, even with the
aware of
even
what it is that they're watching. I remember our 9 year old autistic daughter, you know, was on this whole like she went from Elmo to this whole what's his name, Dave Hartman, Jeff, and I was like, whoa, who in the world is Dave Hart, Jeff, whatever his name is, the Hartman? I need to know about him. So we did our research
and
because
we
I was
said
like, yo,
we
she's
better not,
intrigued.
like Pee Wee Herman. Remember Pee Wee
I said
Herman?
I want to pull out all of the news clippings to make sure that
Yes,
this dude is
yes.
okay. And I'm
But
like,
you
because
know
we it
what?
just came out of nowhere. But then we realized later they were showing it in school. Because I was, hey, we were like, whoa, and like literally,
But even without the school, them showing it in school, we watched it, didn't we? We
sure did.
tuned
Look, I
in.
still watch
We
them.
said, and her uncle, goddaddy, was like, "Look, this dude better not go wrong. I tell you, because this baby is so engrossed with Day Hartman." But you know what? The other thing too, and I know we're near our time limit, but cartoons, animation, I used to think back in the day, usually the animations were kids friendly, but now what's those shows like? And it started with
So even on
what's
the
the ones with the big
SpongeBob,
old
I'm like, whoa. When we start doing that, we done perverted SpongeBob. Like, let me tell
yeah,
you,
SpongeBob? What's
if
this
they
with a
start
big old sponge
perverting
with no pants
and
on?
don't type nothing and say they did, but if they start perverting Sesame Street and Elmo and all that,
Yes,
I'm just through.
yes.
Like we
So
got
the
nothing. I'm
the
gonna start
name of the
making my
game
own little
is
animated cartoons and stuff. Um,
keep in touch with whatever it is your kid, and that's at home, at school, at play, even at church.
yeah,
Be on top of things, parents. Even at church, there was a situation where a child went to the bathroom and was molested
right,
in a church.
right.
In a church, we have to be on top of things. I love y'all with the love of the Lord. Mm, 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 mm.
I love you too, man. Thank you for waking me up
Lord,
on time. You and my little
yeah, that
health drink.
stuff is good.
Yeah, I
It's
was.
green
It
apple
is. It
is
is. It's
good.
drinking great, but it. Yeah. Thank you guys for waking me up on this, and
Mm.
we're not done with this topic because, like I said, it's so necessary
You
for
know how
us
we
to
roll.
talk about. And in order for me to be intentional about helping those that I come in contact with, I know my story, but um, sometimes my story coupled with someone else's story, or just knowing your mindset or what you think about certain things. Because I know what I think,
Absolutely.
but I don't know what other people
Keep
think.
it real.
And
Yeah.
so I just need to know
And if y'all
what's
have,
out there. Like, what are you seeing? Because
yeah.
I want to be an instrument to help my young queens
Hmm.
with who they
That's what it's
are,
about. That's,
and so knowing who they are, there are certain
mm,
things that they're not going to do, and certain things that they're not going to allow. Two different things. Certain things they're
all
not going to
intersect
do,
together.
and certain things they're not
Mm,
going to allow. Because I don't, I'm not stupid by far to think that it's only guys. My
mm.
daughter had just passed me recently a meme where wasn't a meme, but it was a post where the guy had scratches all over him. And he was like he walked away from a situation, um, and he had gotten all the marks because he wouldn't hit the girl. He wouldn't hit her. She in his face almost hit me, and he wouldn't hit her. So she just knocked the mess out of him and scratched them all up. And more important than the post itself, I'm reading the comments. And people like, I would have knocked that B out. I would have did, and I'm like, wow, like, yeah, this is a problem. This is a problem. This is a situation. This is a situation that needs to be addressed.
Hmm.
Because this is, we getting somewhere with it. This is a part of a portion of the problem that we're dealing with in our crime.
Yes,
Because
yes,
if
it is.
there's anger, if there's deep rooted anger from other situations that cause you to feel like having a gun makes you somebody, because it's men
Mhm.
and women. My oldest daughter's godmother, um her her cousin was the one who was involved in a shooting with a girl. They were at the gas station, and the boy was involved, and the girl, they fought. She was getting beat up. She got upset. She went and grabbed a gun from under the dude's seat and shot, and before she know, shot the girl right in the head. Now she not here no more. And the sister sitting there, all kinds of things probably going through her head, like, I should have just drug her butt in the car and just been like, this ain't worth it, let's leave. But now you don't have that opportunity. And so, like,
And then,
I want to stop that from happening. Like, I don't want us to be in
absolutely.
that scenario. You
Yeah.
know?
And which brings us to another issue, which we will soon identify, I'm sure, is this gun control. Because my an ex-boyfriend's sister, whom I'm still, she's like my sister, um, had her one of her granddaughters was shot a year ago. It's been over a little over a year ago now, with a from a friend who was supposed to be a friend. Playing around. They went to the store, and she's in the car, and he comes back. He has a gun in his hand and points. Who does that? Points the gun at her, and it goes off and kills her dead. There is no comeback. Bullets have no names on them. People do. And so this thing of abuse starts out fun and games, which is not fun and games. So I'm going to challenge our audience too, because I know that there are those of us out here who have had experiences. If you don't mind being transparent, you can uh, erase the names to save the innocent, or however, or the not so innocent. But share in your either in your comments. You can change the names or whatever. But we want
Send
to
it to
know
me. You
our
only got to put
people.
it in
We
the
want,
comments. Send it
as
to
we
me.
said, Lana, this thing is not about us, it's about
Yeah,
our community, it's about each other. We want to be uh, our brothers. We want to show that we are our brothers and sisters keepers.
yeah.
So, feel free to share with us so that we can share with our audience. And who knows, by the end of this week, maybe we'll have some soldiers to come forth and,
I
maybe
got some
be
things for you. I got some
one
things
of
for
our
you this week.
guests. Yeah.
Yeah, we certainly have some things for you this week. But this,
Mhm.
again, we're over time,
Yeah.
but it's necessary.
Yeah.
And some of the comments I purposely did not respond, because I wanted to gather the comments, and we're going to discuss some of them tomorrow. We're going to start out with some of the comments that you guys have been putting. And so some I have addressed, but there are others that on air we're actually going to talk about them. So we're going to start with that tomorrow. And we'll be talking about this all week, man. Yeah, we're talking about it all week. We got some
Yes.
things.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
um, I got like one day that I'm looking to fill with someone who's willing, from my Morning Tea with Mommy Facebook fam, who's willing to share their experience on air at 7:30 in the morning.
Amen. Yes.
So if you are, reach out to me. If not, we just gonna go with the flow of what we have planned for you this week. But yeah, love y'all. Hey, she love you
You want
too.
some of my saying? It goes with the outfit.
I want to go and stand up and look at my whole outfit because I've been feeling uncomfortable all morning, but I feel like I'm not dressed appropriately.
I love you
But
guys.
I love you. Mama Lou loves you, and most importantly, God loves us all. And so it is so necessary for us to get it. I need all of us to get it so we can win in this thing called life. And so until tomorrow, bright and early 7:30. It's your girl, neo soul recording artist Lahla-Hadiya, wrapping up another segment of Morning Tea with Mommy. Stop telling your daughters and your sons those are love taps. They are not. They're not love taps. We will be back on this tomorrow. But until then, continue to walk in purpose and not just on purpose. I love y'all. Peace out.
Mighty, classy, beautiful. 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 Mighty, classy, beautiful.